We're going to call this episode Take Two. I did take one, and I don't think I recorded it. It's Saturday morning, after all, and I'm not normally working on Saturday mornings. Usually I'm doing my laundry. Going to do a short beer review this morning. I wanted to share a couple of thoughts on some breweries that are based right here in my home state of Idaho. I wanted to point out every state now in this era has some really fine breweries. You look around the country, and no matter where you go, you're going to find some people who are actually doing some great work. The last 30 years in brewing has really been a revolution, and people have been trying things, and it's like a chef at a good restaurant, constantly trying to come up with something new and something unique. There's a place in Idaho. There's a small town up in the Panhandle, and this small town has two breweries, a population of 800. But the breweries are very, very well known throughout the region and really throughout the Northwest. One of the breweries is right along one of the main drags. It's a tourist town, and a lot of people come in to visit some museums, and they tour a couple of mines, and then while they're in town, they come back from the mining tour, and if they're a little hot from walking through the mine, they stop in and they get some samples. And what they do is they give you these things that look like if you go into a restaurant, sometimes you know what we're talking about. You go into a restaurant, they give you that little cup. It's about that big around. A golf ball could go in it, and about that high. They put syrup in that. That's how they ration you on the syrup. But they give you, when you go in this place, they give you a few of these things as samples. And the idea is, you taste them, and then you decide you want a big glass, and then they hook you, and then they get you to sit down and maybe buy a few more because you feel guilty about drinking the freebie. I know this because I was vacationing there a few years ago, and I was walking back to my hotel after going out for some pizza, and I was passing the place, and there was a dog sleeping in the door, so I stopped to inquire about the dog, and they said, "Hey, would you like a free sample?" And so I tried a few, and then I felt guilty, and I tried a few more. Luckily, I wasn't driving. I was walking. I got back to the hotel, and I slept like a puppy myself. Couple of notes. One of the best breweries in all of Idaho is in our state capital of Boise, and it's called Powderhaus, Powder, right? Haus, as in a German spelling of house. Powderhaus Brewery, they had a stretch during the pandemic where they couldn't get a lot of the beer out. Shipping became somewhat of an issue. I know this because I didn't see it on the shelves any longer at my local stores. So I actually emailed the brewery, and I got a very nice email back, and they were explaining that it was all pandemic caused, and they were hopeful that when we cleared this thing, they could put the product back on the shelves. They have a beer that is called Heaven's Gate Scotch Ale, which is not very strong, well, in comparison to some of the other beers they brew. Stronger than what you might get in an average Budweiser or Yuengling or I don't know, Pabst, if you're talking a cheap beer. But it's quite delicious. Scotch ale is made because they take a lot of times the oaken casks that Scotch has been aged in, and the beer sits in there for a while, and it absorbs some of that taste from the oak and from the flavors of the Scotch. It's actually very good if you're cooking dark meat. I pour it into a crock pot and often in a saucepan, and I cook it with beef, steaks, and the like. And I'll tell you what, it does. Beer is a great cooking agent. If you ever watch diners, drive-ins, and dives, you'll see these guys that are pouring two-fisted pitchers of beers into various dishes they're making. There's a reason for that. Powderhaus has a variety of different beers. One of those I was going to mention today is something called Schmitz and Grins. And I know that, Mike, all right. I know it probably conjures up some of you out there. Well, you're not going to be drinking beer if you don't like a name like that anyway. It's like your buddy who's named Schmidt. He lives in the Schmidt house. Sorry, couldn't pass that one up. But I tried this, and it's a double bock. A bock beer used to be popular at the end of the year when they'd clean out all the vats, and so there'd always be bock beer around Christmas time. It's a darker colored beer, and more of a coffee taste actually to it, I think. This one, though, is rather powerful. It's quite powerful when it comes to alcohol beverage content. It's 7.8%, which if you buy a Yuengling, which is like 4.1, this is almost twice as strong as a Yuengling. And then there's some writing on the back. Some of it looks to be in foreign languages, too, as well. And so just give you an idea that it's got a very, what I'd say, this would also be great in stew. I would imagine if you put that into your crock pot with some beef cubes and some vegetables, it would come out very well. And lastly, I wanted to talk about one of the other beers that is brewed by Powderhaus Brewery, and this is their double Deadfall Imperial Ale. It's like double secret probation in the movie Animal House. It says the big brother of our Deadfall Ale, clocking in, 10.5% alcohol content. That's almost like wine, and it's a 74 IBU, which means that's a measurement of bitterness. It says double deadfall packs a ton of rich malt and bold hop flavor, twice the malt and dry hopped with delicious locally harvested Centennial hops. Um, Strong stuff from what I would imagine. So we're going to take a little sip here and tell you what it's all about. Yeah, that's a well, doggy. That's a little bit on the powerful side. It might also be good in a stew, but it's a lighter flavor. And it probably could go in with even a chicken type of dish if you were doing some poultry or something like that. That is a little intense. Uh, Beer is an acquired taste. Let's just put it that way. As is coffee, which I go through more coffee than anything else. But I don't specialize when it comes to coffee. This is just the Kirkland brand from Costco, and I often find myself if I'm shopping, I just buy the Maxwell House or really whatever's on sale when it comes to coffee. You get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you something. You just want to hit a caffeine. I'm not a. I admit a lot of people out there when it comes to beer, they struggle with the taste. And the first time I ever had a beer, I thought, oh, who would ever drink this stuff? It is so bitter. You know, you grow up drinking Coca-Cola and Pepsi and, Orange Crush, and you have a taste of beer and you're thinking, yuck. But one summer I was working in a field, and I spent the entire summer working in this field, clearing rocks and brush and the like. And I'd be out there 12 or 14 hours, and it was hot and dusty work. And the foreman would come by just before sunset to relieve me, and he would often come by with ice cold Rolling Rock, which, as beers goes, I guess it's okay. You can drink it on a really hot day after you've been out in the sun for 12 or 14 hours. And I'll tell you what, that really hit the spot. Now, the foreman, I called him Dad as well. So, he wasn't violating any trust with me when he was doing that. But I just wanted to share that quick story. We've got another review coming up. I'm going to be talking about a beer out of Montana, which was not so impressive, versus a beer out of California, which I was very impressed with. Few things out of California that I'm impressed with, but occasionally they get some things right. All right. Hope you have a great day, and we'll be talking with you, well, I guess at the next episode, whenever that may be.